Hello, and welcome to another Deaf What interview. Today, we're interviewing Marie-Pierre. This is her sign name. Welcome. Hello. Thank you for joining us today. I want to take some time and ask you to tell us more about who you are. Hello. My name is Marie-Pierre, and this is my sign name. You might wonder why my sign name was chosen, and it's because I'm a clown. As a child, by the age of 8, I was given the name by a teacher at my elementary school. They gave me the name because I've been clowning around for a long time. Your father has been teaching you since the age of 8? Can you explain more about your skills and how you picked it up? Well, my parents are deaf. My father is also a clown. He was already a clown when I was very young. He's also a magician. Sometimes I would go and watch him use magic in his performances. It wasn't until I was forbidden from entering my father's bedroom that piqued my interest. His room had his magic objects, and it was too precious and important to him. One day after he left for work, I took the opportunity to sneak in and rummage through his magic things. I tried some magic tricks to see what it would look like. My father later noticed that some of the items were in disarray and weren't in the same arrangement that he had left. There were 3 of us. My sister was the oldest, my brother was the middle kid, and I'm the youngest. Also known as the most mischievous kid. So, first my father asked my sister, and she denied it. My brother also denied it. At last he confronted me, and I admitted that I did sneak in and play with his things. At first he questioned why I did it, and then he asked if I wanted to learn it too. I said yes, I really wanted to. It was so easy to pick up and learn. He asked if I wanted to perform in front of an audience, and I said yes. My first performance was in New York, in the United States. I thought it would have been small, but there was a huge audience of deaf people. It was a magic festival back then. There used to be many festivals back then, but not as many now. So at my first performance, there was a huge audience, and I was so nervous I couldn't stop going to the bathroom. It was my first time. I did magic on stage, and it was a success. The crowd went wild, and many people went up to me to congratulate me, and it touched my heart. I wanted more. I told my dad that I wanted more, and the rest is history. Now, my father isn't doing clownery anymore. He stopped about 8 years ago now. He gave all of his magic stuff to me. So now I have a collection of some old and new magic things. How cool! How many years have you been a clown? I started when I was young, but then when I was a teenager, I paused it to focus on adventures and living life. When I was 21, I returned to magic. I started again, little by little, and then I took off from there. Overall, how old am I? I've been a clown for about 20 years now. Wow, what a far out and incredible experience. Do you perform for deaf, hearing, or a mixture of both audiences? Well, I mostly perform for deaf people. I started working for a service that mainly prioritizes kids and children, both deaf and hard of hearing. They've been doing work to spread awareness about our identity as a deaf person. So I will often have to hire an interpreter to work with me for schools and for libraries in the Montreal area. Sometimes I will perform for hearing people, but I don't do any magic without an interpreter present. Now I have a new coach. I hired a hearing coach to help me create accessibility in my work for everyone, including hearing people. So you usually focus on children and now to the general public audience. That's right. How cool. Wow. You're immersed in magic. Can you explain more about your magic? I'm so curious. Magic by itself is true magic. But there's also fake magic, like secrets and tricks to create magic. I unfortunately can't tell you. Also, I don't only do magic. I also do mime and comedic facial exaggerated expression performances. Magic isn't all that I am. I'm not a serious expert in magic. I'm more of a funny, laughing, and accidental kind of magic. I hate magic with a deck of cards. I prefer more of an object, flowers, and ball kind of magic. That's more what I'm skilled in. That is so cool. I want to learn. Maybe one day I'll learn your secret, but for now I'll respect your secrecy. Now, how has the pandemic affected you and the type of art that you create? Where I worked at the time had already booked school performances in advance. I had a coworker at the time who was also a clown. He's a man named J.H. We worked together for our skit called Deaf Like That. We've toured different places, and we still had more event dates booked well into April or May. Then, all of a sudden, the pandemic happened. Schools closed, and all the events were canceled. I was dumbfounded. There was nothing. It shifted me to good things later on, though. It eventually led me to more creativity, ideas, and projects. I asked the CCA for funding for different ideas. I requested funding for clown therapy. I tried it before, but it wasn't enough practice, and I felt like there was still something missing inside me. I decided to ask the CCA, and they approved for the funding to pay for specialized training in clown therapy. The team expanded quickly, and they hired me as a part-time clown therapist. They offer me to go in once or twice a week to a type of dormitory where older people live. I go there as a clown therapist, meeting older people. COVID led me to pursue my dreams. I didn't have the time for anything before, and then the pandemic hit, and I shifted to this. Wow, that's so heartwarming. It's so important that you inspire and make people laugh with joy and happiness. It's worth it to influence good. Thank you for sharing. When I go to older people's rooms, I'll chat with them, and they laugh, love, and enjoy. When I leave, they tell me no, and they give me gratitude. They get so happy and touched. I know they must really need it, being isolated and impacted by the pandemic the most. I'm curious, do you interact with both deaf and hearing people as a clown therapist? Yes, absolutely. A lot of older people who live in a home have had strokes or have Alzheimer's, and they're unable to form coherent verbal words and be understood by other hearing people. I just let it slide and act and dance with them and give them laughter. People think their mind isn't there, but it's important to give them compassion. When they shake or are nervous, I reassure them. I give them more dancing. Often, there are two of us clowns. I'm not alone. It's better to have two. Often, we will both play out a skit, where one of us will approach the patient with warmth, and then the other clown will interrupt me for attention, and then we both squabble over the patient's attention. The patient would always be mesmerized by the skit, and then they feel less lonely. That is so sweet. I really love that heartwarming story. People are often stressed and preoccupied with their mental health. You need to give them something to keep them calm, and that's humor, happiness. Recently, you performed at Sound Off. Did you enjoy it? Yes. It was my first time flying there. The three of us were going to perform for all across Canada. At Sound Off, we would repeat our performances 3 or 4 times over the course of a week. It was so much fun. I felt myself gain confidence and skill to perform again. I felt the improvement happening in the moment. Also, what was fun about it was that I was able to see other performances there too. It's a really cool experience meeting all different kinds of people. And that performance is called The Myth of the Rare Hand. Can you tell us more about it? Absolutely. So how did we establish the signed script? In Quebec, I watched shows that often showed separate and solo performances. Like people playing on stage alone. And I didn't like it. I saw Hodan and Jennifer, who are both performers. I'm also a performer. We all got together and discussed the possibility of us performing as a team. Why not? We all agreed, and we wanted to connect the script. We wanted to relate to the deaf experience. We discussed ideas until we formed an idea. We hired a stage director. We shuffled things around, and things went on from there. The script talks about the story of Cinderella. She tends to be seen as sad before she turns into Cinderella and meets the prince and then becomes happy. Our script is similar to that, but comparing it to being deaf in the before years with no accessibility, and then now in the year 2022. The accessibility in the now, like phone, Zoom, VRS. Imagine what the accessibility was like back then when things were different. Things like that are explored in the performance, including throughout the years and eras. Cinderella is one of my favorite stories. I'm so disappointed I missed your play. I hope in the future I get to see it again. What are your future plans for performing? For sure, to continue clown therapy. Older adults are my priority now, but I also want to shift my work to include sick kids in hospitals. Kids who are sick, some with cancer, some who are sad and have to stay for extended periods of time. I want to add that kind of work to my future. Also, CCA already approved this grant for my project. I haven't collected the grant yet. I keep putting it off for a long time. I want to travel to a poor country for kids in a group home who are orphans or who are on their own with no family. I want to go there, but I haven't bought the flight ticket yet. I need to set up a team. I don't want to go alone. I have to reach out to assemble a team. Right now I have a team, but I need to organize a way for us to get there. It's my dream to meet people there, people who have no parents and no love in their life. I want to give them love and joy and happiness. Wow. Where are you going to fly to? I filled out a form on CCA to fly to Bolivia. Wow. There are a lot of kids who are on their own without a family. Someone I know who has experience traveling to Bolivia told me that it's a good place to go. And that it's safe. Either Bolivia or another country. I don't know for sure yet. Once I decide on a country, I'll know for sure. I wish you the best luck. I'm so excited for you. Do you have any other plans for yourself in the near future? Yes. The new hearing coach that I hired over the summer, he is excellent, and he has immense experience in clown and artistry. I look up to him. I'll be honest, I'm not so used to being criticized by someone. He explains things and is very punctual in his work. I have a habit that sometimes I get alone in performances. I don't get many critics. I work solo. I often did magic after signing a contract. I just bring a box of supplies and perform a show with a vague concept. But now that I have a coach, there is more good experience from working with him. If we ever come to an end of our sessions, I want more. I want to continue having him as my coach somehow. We need funding to pay him, unfortunately. We're only funded until November by Arts Montreal. But I hope the funding will continue. You can apply to the CCA for professional development funding. Wow. So I'm curious, do you have any advice or tips for deaf artists? Yes, I've seen some artists in Quebec that can do more, and I encourage you to do so. If you feel that deep down inside you want to be a clown or an actor, don't be shy. Go ahead and ask for help to get involved. Waiting for someone to get you involved is not the way. You can be forgotten. It's better to be assertive for yourself and get yourself involved to start trying, and then over time, you'll improve. Clown therapy is something that deaf people can easily do. You don't need to communicate. What's important is the movements. It's important to love, laugh, be happy for people, and give them all the joy. Yes, absolutely. Clown doesn't need language. You can gesture and express it by face and body. It's amazing. Yes, that. What gives you joy? What gives me joy is people. After I'm done performing, every time they cheer, They come up to me and tell me that it was a beautiful performance and they're in awe. It's not just one or two, but so many people each time. It's inspiring. Also, when I tell older adults I work with for clown therapy that I'm leaving, they're always so sad when I leave, and they thank me. They thank me, and it already gives me fulfillment and joy. It's worth it to see those people smile. It's the best. Yes. What thoughts do you want to share with the hearing world? The hearing coach is an expert in the arts with over 40 years' experience. He was already working at Cirque du Soleil, where another performer referred him to me. He was confused as to how, since I was deaf. It wasn't until we got to work with each other that he was amazed that a deaf person could do it. He never thought it was possible, and he was so filled with emotion, and he said it over and over again that he was so amazed. That's why I want to try and uplift deaf arts, because the deaf arts are hidden while the hearing arts go on in the world, leaving us to be forgotten. Deaf people have a lot of skills. Of course, hearing have easy communication, but deaf people communicate differently. Communication problems, the only problem is the communication, but really we're the same. I feel very touched to the heart that he was surprised and amazed. It really touched my heart. I hope my coach becomes famous, and I hope he gets word of mouth going for deaf people. Also, for Troy, hearing people looked at him in awe. I hope hearing people also look at other deaf people and give them a chance and urge them along. Also, writing characters. Writing a deaf character and having a hearing actor in the deaf role is weird. It's better to hire an actor who is deaf and fit the deaf role and make it authentic, rather than hiring a hearing person and teach them a lifetime role. And then they jumble it because they try to compress the experience in a person who is a person that does not already have those skills in them. I agree with you. It's important that Troy encourages the deaf folks too, because there's so many of them in the audience. There's only a small amount of deaf people while there's a huge amount of hearing people. It's how to help make that community boom. We need hearing people support because the world is full of hearing people. While a small amount of the world is filled with deaf people, we need support and connection to uplift deaf roles with deaf actors and not hearing actors. Don't push them aside because there's many opportunities. We need more for deaf people to be able to grow and be uplifted. Thank you. Are there any other thoughts that you want to share for deaf folks? If people want to become a clown or a clown therapist, don't be shy. You can contact me. I want to see the clown community expand. I can offer references, and there are many older people across Canada. I would be able to give references, and there are many people out there. I want to encourage that in you. Thank you. I will be in touch with you to learn more about being a clown. Sometimes I play around with it, but I want to learn and get more into it. Thank you so much for coming to this interview. Thank you for your time. I also want to thank the Canada Council of the Arts for funding this project. Thank you, and also thank you, Jennifer, for being our ASL LSQ interpreter.